My name's Andy Glover. I'm the CTO of App47. The title of the presentation, I think, in the cutoff handout you have, I think was something around the HTML5 and PhoneGap. Don't believe the hype, but then Pete had me edit that because he didn't want to offend anybody. So I totally renamed it to Mobile Web Realities. And before I get into the presentation, a little background. About a year ago, I went to various conferences and extolled the many benefits of PhoneGap. I'm not here to bash PhoneGap. I think PhoneGap is an excellent platform for certain scenarios, but I think it's been overused, and I'm here to tell you that there are alternatives. And so I wanted to start out with a question, and the question is, it would be nice if I could use the remote control, is do you want to build a mobile website or do you want to build a mobile app? Because if you want to build a mobile website, HTML5 is good enough, all right? But if you want to build a mobile app, it's all about user experience. And I'm sorry to say that the user experience that you get on an HTML5 mobile web app, whether it be something with PhoneGap or just a pure play mobile app, is not there, right? I mean, users expect excellence, right? And my favorite app to kind of demonstrate the expectations that users have for a mobile app is Flipboard. How many people here use Flipboard? Flipboard is nothing more than a glorified RSS reader. It's your like prototypical web app, right? But this is a native app and it's beautiful. Is everyone? I mean, the users of Flipboard, I'm addicted to it. That's the only thing I'll use to, read RSS or, follow Twitter, Facebook, whatever it is, right? And that is an example of just a beautiful app that is completely native. Another great example, Angry Birds, right? And the list goes on. So let's look at kind of what you can get with the mobile web. Has anyone ever been to the website WTFmobileweb.com? It's a fun one, isn't it? So let's take a look. This is the user experience. This is the mobile website for Craigslist in the Washington, D.C. area. Yes. I don't need to say any more. Next one. This is a good one. This is a web app. It's a mobile app that is for a company called Usability, actually. And let's take a quick look at the message that's being displayed there. You can't really see it, so I thought I'd show you the salient points. So it says blah 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 requires a modern browser with JavaScript enabled. Try switching to another browser. And you see, there's the problem, I believe, right now with the mobile web, is that the browser is the lowest common denominator. It's the weakest link in the chain, right? If you are trying to build a mobile app, this is not where you want to start. And actually, we talk about, fragmentation on the Android platform, but actually where the fragmentation exists is on the mobile browsers themselves, okay? Even across iPad or iOS and Android, all the browsers have various different capabilities or supported capabilities. And I thought I'd be kind of cute and show you what I have here. So there are two particular websites that I like to view on various mobile devices. The one on your left, yes, that's your left, is called Find Me by IP. And you can go to this website with any browser and it'll find you by IP. It'll give you some really lame information, but where it gets really interesting is it'll tell you your HTML5 support. And you can see there's a lot of red X's there, and then look at the HTML5 Form 2.0 test. There's a lot of X's there. This is an Android device. This is an Android 2.3.2 device, which is over 65% of the market of Android devices. Website on the right is a utility. It's a website put out by the good folks at Facebook, and it's called Ringmark. And what it does is it displays a ring. It has 3 rings, and they've decided, and they've learned plenty of lessons about the mobile web, haven't they? They come up, if you've ever been to Ringmark, it'll basically grade your browser, and it will spread out a ring how many tests your browser has passed according to their standards. And that's how many tests this browser has passed. None. It didn't even register a ring. Android. Then I thought, well, it'd be fun if I check out my my iPad, second generation, pretty high speed thing. That's where I stand right now in terms of HTML5 support. Then this ring thing will start to make a little bit more sense now that you see this is where my iPad stands. And you can see it only made it to level 1. 35 tests failed, 115 passed. I had to turn in the slides, but then after I turned in the slides, I did one more experience. I went to my desktop, an iMac, and I have Chrome, Safari, and Firefox. And I pulled them all up, and I went to the same website, and all of them had different results. No one got beyond ring 1, and no one had fewer than 26 tests failed. And that's in the latest version of Firefox, the latest version of Safari, and the latest version of Chrome. So that's where we stand right now in terms of the reality of the mobile web, right? HTML5, the promise that it's going to, totally obliterate native apps. I'm sorry, it's not there yet. And what I wanted to talk about next is this whole notion of history, right? When people start talking about the mobile web and comparing it to native apps, they like to bring up this whole thing. Well, it happened once before, right? Remember back in the day when we all got our desktops? How did we buy software? We bought software from a box. We drove to a store and bought a box, drove home, took out the 400, disks and stuck them in one by one. That was software delivery when the computer age started, right? And then this thing comes along called the internet. And it makes software delivery a lot easier. So everyone's like, wow, I don't have to go to like a store to buy a box. I can just go to a website and I can do something interesting. And that crushed desktop apps, right? I mean, when's the last time you went to a store and bought a desktop app? I can't remember the last time I did it. I'm sorry?
1 week ago.
What'd you buy? So there's always one in the crowd, right? So the analogy that people will say is that, okay, well, the web totally crushed desktop apps, so the web is going to totally crush native apps. But what they're forgetting, again, is that the iPhone, right, or your Android, right, they both have something in common, and that's an app store. That's the new delivery channel, right? App stores. That's how I buy software now. I'm sitting in a restaurant, and I got this wild bill, and I want to figure out the tip because I want to seem all savvy. So what do? I go to iTunes, I download like iTip, whatever it is, and in 2 minutes I've got a tip, right? Oh yeah, I owe this guy $27, right? That is seamless, right? The app stores these days are only distributing native apps or apps wrapped in some sort of hybrid shell, right? You can't iconify a website and put it in an app store. When's the last time on your iPhone did you Google something like a tip calculator, right? The whole user experience with mobile devices is right now at least focused very much on app stores. That's how we deliver software. And app stores have no intention of iconifying URLs, right? I said right, and everyone's like, well.
Right.
Yes. I know, right? That's what my daughter says all the time, and that's like the cool thing to say these days. I know, right? So, does this mean that if you believe me that native is the way to go, that you have to have, the Objective-C, and you have to have Java, expertise, right? Because another argument for not going native is it's very expensive, right? So everyone knows the web, so we're going to make this awesome web app. How many people went to Pat Sheridan's a friend of mine, all right, so I can say this. How many people went to Pat's presentation, his 45-minute presentation? Those were some really cool apps they built. Do you know how much they charge per hour to build those? No, yeah. Have you ever tried to build a Sense-to-Touch application? Anyone here a Sense-to-Touch expert? No, exactly. That's why you hire them, because there's only like 6 in the universe, right? I mean, it's awesome. But again, it's not cheaper to go the web, right? You got to hire these awesome guys to build it, and they can build cool things. And he even put an asterisk by his thing when he said, the native or mobile web is the way to go. It is if you're building a mobile website. His classic example was the Blue Shield. They want to disseminate healthcare information. That's great. That's a website. But I want a mobile app. If I want to do something cool, I'm going to do it in a mobile app. But I don't necessarily have to learn Objective-C or Java. So PhoneGap was very appealing back in the day because it was, hey, I can apply web technologies and I put it in a container and I can put it through the App Store and I'm good to go. And at the end, what I have is just a completely lame app, unless I'm doing data collection or like Wikipedia, where people are just scrolling and looking at things. There is a new kind of, these frameworks aren't new. In fact, one of them is upstairs. But I think you will start to see these frameworks start to pick up in appeal. And that is the likes of the Appcelerators of the world, Xamarin, Corona, and Unity. And the beauty of these frameworks is that you get the whole argument again for native versus mobile web. Is mobile web's cheaper because I can build one code base. And then I can, I don't have to worry about devices. With native apps, I have to build Objective-C and Java and whatever the next one is. However, with frameworks like Appcelerator, Xamarin, Corona, and Unity, I get to build one app in one language that is then compiled to native code. It's not a shell like PhoneGap. It is 100% native. Appcelerator is you write your app in JavaScript, kind of a proprietary blend of JavaScript. Is there any Appcelerator people in the room? Okay, good. It's a proprietary version of JavaScript that's different. And you build an app, and it'll ultimately produce a native Android app or a native iOS app that has the native look and feel, that has the UX. Xamarin, I think, is very, very interesting. This is a C# framework. This is remember Mono? Anyone here like a real uber geek? Remember Mono back in the day? That's what Mono became. Those guys took a lot of money, and now they're Xamarin, and they have a framework for building mobile apps. Corona. Anyone been to the Modev meetups? Corona was talked about a year ago. Corona, Corona is Lua. So you build your app in Lua, and you can actually build some really cool apps with Corona, like games and whatnot. They have a demonstration of an Angry Birds clone. And then one that I've recently stumbled upon, which is very, very hot in the gaming community, is Unity. And again, Unity is also, anyone here a Unity person? It's Lua-based, if I understand. It's not? It's something?
It's C#. I mean, it's
okay.
like Mono.
Okay, so it's like Mono, so it's a C, it's a C variant. There are some really cool apps built with Unity. There's a zombie game that I was checking out. I mean, so again, if you want to build a mobile app, it's got to be about UX. And you're not going to get UX with HTML5. I'm sorry. If you want to scroll and look at, healthcare plans, be my guest, build it in, PhoneGap, and you're good to go. But if you want to build a game or something that has like interaction that people are going to say, I love this app, you're going to want to build it native. And if you don't want to use Objective-C or you don't want to learn Java, frameworks like this, and there's going to be more and more of them, these guys are starting to take money in terms of, VCs are looking at them, and there's a lot of money going into this space. This is where you're going to see a lot of action. So, to wrap it up, you're building a website, HTML5 is probably the way to go. If you want to build a mobile app, it's all about UX. The browser right now is the lowest common denominator. All right, you saw the test I showed you. Anyone here playing with a framework called Modernizer? It's a JavaScript framework that everyone puts in their website. That's obscene that we need something like Modernizer that basically takes care of the fact that there's 100 million different versions of browsers out there. History. People will commonly just say, well, it happened once, it's going to happen again. I'm not convinced of that. I think the software delivery channel on mobile devices is the app stores. And until the app stores are motivated to provide you with URLs, it's going to be little icons. They want icons, right? And then last but not least, check out these native hybrids. I'm not saying you need to go out, and if you're not an Objective-C person, you have to learn Objective-C or vice versa with Java. There are some very, very innovative frameworks, and what is compiled down to is a native app. It has the look and feel richness of a native app. It is not a compromise like something with PhoneGap. Again, PhoneGap's great if you're building like a little data gathering application or just data viewing. And there is integrations with the devices themselves, but again, there's another fragmentation issue. I should have put that slide up there. If you look at what PhoneGap supports across devices, it's a matrix, right? Check, check, XX, blank, blank, blank. So if you need interfacing with the actual native device, just go native. Don't try to do these shivs. And it can be done, but it'll be a lackluster user experience. Thanks again. I'm 15 minutes. My name's Andy Glover. Yes, sir.
App47, are you seeing any of those native hybrids?
Yes.
With customers?
Yes, we're seeing an increase, and this is actually what kind of helped formulate this in my mind.
Have you seen successes with fairly complex enterprise-type apps?
Yes.
Native hybrids?
We're seeing a lot of Appcelerator. Unity and Corona, not so much, because those are more like for gaming. But Appcelerator, the Appcelerator has increased dramatically. Now, we see a lot of PhoneGap, too. So, we support PhoneGap. To be frank, we're in the process of supporting Appcelerator. But, so PhoneGap's out there. It's a great framework for some enterprise apps. But, again, the gamification, the consumerization, buzzwords, very compliant, of IT. People want something that actually is cool, that they can press buttons and it's actually interactive. It's not some piece of junk, right? Anyways.